The massive crystal dome of the Galactic Council stretched high above thousands of alien delegates. Creatures of every shape and size filled the floating platforms that surrounded the central speaking area. Some had tentacles that waved in the recycled air. Others had multiple eyes that blinked at different times. A few looked almost like walking trees with bark-like skin. Elder Zixthara moved slowly toward the center podium. Her 3 eyes were dim with age, but her mind was sharp. She had lived longer than most entire civilizations. Her purple skin was wrinkled like old leather, and her movements were careful but determined. The other delegates watched her with mixed feelings. Some respected her great age. Others thought she was too old to matter anymore. "Friends of the galaxy," she began, her voice carrying clearly through the translation devices everyone wore. "We must talk about the new species, the ones from the small blue planet near the edge of our galaxy. They call themselves humans." A wave of quiet laughter rippled through the younger species. Ambassador Krelks from the powerful hegemony military stretched his 4 muscular arms and made a sound like grinding metal. His species had conquered dozens of worlds and considered themselves the strongest in the galaxy. "Elder Zixthara," Krelks said with amusement in his voice, "surely you are joking with us today. Our scouts have watched these humans for months. They have tiny ships. Their weapons are weak. They barely know how to travel between stars. My youngest soldier could defeat 10 of them without effort." Other delegates nodded in agreement. The humans did seem very primitive compared to the great civilizations of the galaxy. Their largest ships could only carry a few hundred people. Their energy weapons were simple. Their technology was hundreds of years behind what most species considered basic equipment. But Zixthara did not smile. Instead, her 3rd eye began to glow softly. This was the eye that could see things others could not. The eye that remembered the past and sometimes glimpsed the future. When it glowed, even the bravest warriors felt uncomfortable. "Young ones," she said quietly, "I have lived through 17 full cycles of our galaxy. I have watched empires rise like mountains and fall like sand castles. I have seen species that seemed weak become mighty, and species that seemed mighty disappear forever." She paused and looked around the chamber. Her voice grew stronger. "In the deepest parts of my people's memory banks, carved in stone older than your entire civilizations, there are warnings. Warnings about a species that lived long ago at the very edge of known space. Warnings that were written in blood and fear and desperate wisdom." The chamber grew quieter. Even Krelks stopped his amused, grinding sounds. "The warnings say 3 things," Zixthara continued. "Never provoke the persistence hunters. Never corner the pack bonders. Never ever fight a human." Now the chamber erupted in noise. Delegates turned to each other, speaking in dozens of languages at once. Some laughed louder than before. Others looked confused. A few of the older species looked thoughtful and worried. "Respectfully, Elder," said Ambassador Vexnala from the Trade Federation, "these warnings make no sense. Persistence hunters? Pack bonders? These are just words. The humans we have observed are not particularly strong or fast or smart. They do not have natural weapons like claws or poison. They seem quite ordinary." "Ordinary," Zixthara repeated slowly. "Yes, that is exactly what makes them so dangerous." She activated a holographic display that showed images of the human homeworld. The delegates saw a blue and green planet with white clouds. It looked peaceful and beautiful. "Look at this world," Zixthara said. "No natural energy sources on the surface, no super-strong materials, no obvious advantages. Yet somehow one species became the masters of their entire planet. Not through strength or speed or natural weapons, but through something else entirely." The display changed to show images of Earth's history that had been gathered by long-range sensors. The delegates saw humans hunting massive creatures with simple tools. They saw humans crossing vast oceans in wooden boats. They saw humans surviving in frozen lands and burning deserts. "They are persistence hunters," Zixthara explained. "On their world, they would chase prey for days without stopping. Not faster than their prey, but never giving up, never stopping. The prey would run until it collapsed from exhaustion, and then the humans would catch it. Some delegates shifted uncomfortably in their seats. They are pack bonders, she continued. They form groups that will die for each other. Not family groups like many species, but chosen groups. Groups that become stronger than the sum of their parts. When you fight one human, you fight all humans they consider part of their pack. Ambassador Krelk stood up, his massive frame towering over his platform. Elder, with all respect for your great age, these are just stories. Old fears from primitive times. We have energy weapons that can destroy entire cities. We have ships that can cross the galaxy in days. We have armor that can stop any weapon. What can these primitive humans do against such power? Zixthera's three eyes all focused on Krelix. Her third eye glowed brighter, and for a moment, everyone in the chamber felt a chill of fear they could not explain. Young warrior, she said, softly, that is exactly the question that every extinct species asked right before they learned the answer. Captain Li Jin stood quietly on the bridge of the human exploration ship UES Harmony. The stars outside the big window looked peaceful and beautiful. His ship was not built for fighting. It was made for exploring new worlds and meeting new friends among the stars. Jin had been captain for 5 years, and he loved his job of discovering what was out there in the great unknown galaxy. The ship was small compared to the huge vessels that more advanced species used. Only 28 people worked on the Harmony. Most of them were scientists, not soldiers. They had some basic weapons for protection against space pirates, but nothing very powerful. Their job was to study planets and stars, not to fight wars. Jin was reading reports about their latest discovery when Communications Officer Park Min suddenly called out from her station. Her voice was sharp with worry. Captain, I am detecting something very big coming our way. Many ships dropping out of faster-than-light travel. They are huge ships, sir, much bigger than anything we have ever seen. Before Jin could even respond, the ship's warning systems began screaming loudly. Red lights flashed all over the bridge. On the main screen, Jin watched in shock as 200 alien warships appeared around them like magic. The ships were dark and covered with weapons. They looked like they were built only for destroying things. The largest ship was massive beyond belief. It was easily 50 times bigger than the Harmony. Weapons covered every surface like deadly metal spines. Jin had never seen anything so frightening in his entire life. A harsh voice suddenly came through their communication system. The ship's computer translated the alien language into words Jin could understand. Primitive vessel of unknown origin, the voice said with clear anger. You have entered sacred hegemony space without permission. This is a crime punishable by immediate destruction. Surrender your ship now, or we will destroy you completely. Jinsi looked at the tactical display that showed all the enemy ships surrounding them. Each red dot represented a vessel that could easily destroy his ship with a single shot. Dr. Kim Soo, his science officer, looked up from her instruments with wide, frightened eyes. Captain, she whispered, their smallest ship has 10 times more firepower than our entire vessel. We do not stand any chance at all. Jin's tactical officer, Lieutenant Cho Wan, was checking all their weapons and defenses. He shook his head slowly. Sir, we have nothing that can even scratch their armor. Our energy weapons would be like throwing stones at a mountain. Jin nodded calmly. He had always known that exploring space was dangerous. They had always understood that they might one day meet hostile aliens, but knowing something might happen, and actually facing it were very different things. He looked around at his crew. These were good people, scientists, engineers, explorers. They had families back on Earth, children who were waiting for their parents to come home. Captain, came the harsh alien voice again, you have 30 seconds to surrender before we open fire. Jin activated the ship's intercom so everyone on the Harmony could hear him speak. His voice was steady and calm, even though his heart was beating very fast. All crew members, this is Captain Jin speaking. We are surrounded by a very large alien fleet. They want us to surrender our ship. We are completely outgunned and outnumbered. No one would blame us if we gave up now. That would be the smart thing to do. He paused for a moment, thinking about his next words carefully. But we are the first humans these aliens have ever met. What we do in the next few minutes will decide how they think about our entire species. Do we show them that humans give up when things get hard? Or do we show them something else? Jin turned to his communications officer. Park Min, open a channel to Earth. Use all the power we have. Make sure this message reaches home. Sir, that will use up all our emergency power reserves. We will have no power left for life support or weapons. Do it anyway. Park Min's fingers moved quickly over her controls. Channel open, Captain. Jin spoke clearly into the recorder, knowing these might be the last words any human would ever hear from the Harmony. This is Captain Li Jin of the exploration vessel UES Harmony. We have encountered a hostile alien force in the Kepler 442 system. They have 200 warships. We have one small exploration ship. We are outnumbered and outgunned beyond any possibility of survival. He looked around at his crew one more time. They were all watching him with trust and determination in their eyes. Tell everyone on Earth what happened here today. Tell them about the alien empire that destroys ships for entering their space. Tell them we fought when we could have surrendered. Tell them we did not go quietly into the dark. Jin closed the communication channel and turned to face his crew. Now, my friends, let us show these aliens what humans do when someone tries to bully us. The alien captain was expecting the small human ship to surrender immediately. Instead, the humans did something completely unexpected. They turned their mining equipment into weapons. They used their scientific instruments to jam alien sensors. They fought back with everything they had, even though they knew they could not win. The battle lasted only minutes, but in those minutes the aliens learned something important about humans. They learned that humans do not give up easily. 6 months had passed since the Harmony was destroyed, and Admiral Krexvor was starting to feel very worried. He stood in the command center of his massive warship, looking at reports that made no sense to him. The humans had not done what he expected them to do. After destroying the small human ship, Krexvor thought the humans would either surrender completely or send a big fleet to fight them directly. Most species did one of those two things, but the humans had done neither. Instead, something much stranger was happening. Give me the latest report, Krexvor ordered his second-in-command. Sub-Commander Thexanel's tentacles moved nervously as he read from his datapad. Sir, 3 more of our supply ships disappeared this week. The cargo station at Proxima went completely silent 2 days ago. Our patrol ships in the Vega system, they just vanished without sending any distress signals. Krexvor studied the big map that showed all of hegemony space. Red marks showed where their ships and stations had gone missing. There were dozens of red marks now, scattered across their entire territory. But there was no pattern that made sense. The attacks were not focused on one area like a normal invasion would be. How many ships have we lost? Krexvor asked. 47 warships, sir. Over 100 supply and transport vessels. 12 space stations, and we have not seen a single large human fleet anywhere. That was what worried Krexvor the most. When the hegemony fought other species, there were always big battles with hundreds of ships on each side. Admirals would plan careful strategies and fight according to the rules of space warfare that everyone understood. But the humans were not following any rules at all. Intelligence Officer Keldara approached with more bad news. Sir, we have been studying the wreckage from our lost ships. The humans are not just destroying our vessels. They are taking them apart and studying every piece of technology. What do you mean? They are learning how our weapons work, how our engines function, how our shields operate. Then they are building their own versions, but somehow making them better. Krexvor felt his stomach twist with worry. Better how? Our plasma cannons normally fire in single shots. The humans have found ways to link multiple cannons together for much more powerful attacks. Our shield generators are designed to protect against energy weapons, but the humans are using our own mining tools to create physical projectiles that punch right through the shields. On the main display, a new report appeared. Another hegemony colony had declared independence from the Empire. This was the 15th world to rebel in the past month. What about our subject species? Krexvor asked. Are they still under our control? Keldara's expression grew even more worried. That is the worst news of all, sir. The humans have been making contact with every species we have conquered. But they are not trying to conquer these species for themselves. Instead, they are offering them something we never gave them. What? Partnership. The humans treat other species as equals. They share their technology freely. They help them defend themselves. They ask for cooperation, not obedience. Krexvor watched as another report came in. The Xanthari people, who had been under hegemony control for 200 years, had just destroyed the hegemony garrison on their homeworld. Human military advisors had somehow helped them plan the attack without anyone noticing. How are the humans getting past our security? Krexvor demanded. We do not know, sir. They seem to be able to go anywhere they want without being detected. Our sensors cannot track their ships. Our intelligence networks cannot find their agents. It is like they have become invisible. The truth was much simpler and much more frightening. The humans were not using advanced invisibility technology. They were just very, very good at being patient and careful. While the hegemony looked for big fleets and obvious threats, small human ships moved quietly through space. Human agents spent months learning how hegemony systems worked before striking. The humans had studied every report about hegemony tactics and technology. They knew exactly how the hegemony military thought and operated. But the hegemony knew almost nothing about how humans thought. Sir, Subcommander Thexnal said quietly, I think we need to consider that we are not fighting a normal war. What do you mean? Most species fight wars to gain territory or resources or to show their strength, but the humans do not seem to want any of those things. They are not trying to conquer our space. They are not demanding tribute or surrender. Krexvor stared at the map showing all their losses. Then what do they want? I think, Thexnal said carefully. They want to destroy us completely. Not just defeat us in battle, but make sure we can never threaten anyone again. The Admiral felt a chill run through his body. He had fought many wars and defeated many enemies, but he had never faced anything like this. The humans were not just fighting them. They were systematically taking apart everything the hegemony had built over thousands of years. They are hunting us, Krexvor realized with growing horror. Not fighting us. Hunting us. On his homeworld, Elder Zixthera received reports of the spreading chaos in hegemony space. She was not surprised. Deep in her people's ancient archives, she found records that had been sealed for millions of years. Records that spoke of the last time humans had encountered a galaxy-spanning empire that ruled through fear and violence. The records were very short. They simply said that after the humans were finished, that empire had never existed again. Commander Han Sora stood in the control room of the human warship Indomitable. The ship looked very different from the small exploration vessel that had been destroyed a year ago. This ship was built from pieces of captured hegemony technology, but the humans had changed everything to work better than the original designers ever imagined. Sora had been a junior science officer on a research station. When the war began, now she commanded one of humanity's most advanced vessels. Her crew was a mix of humans and aliens who had joined their cause. They all worked together like parts of a single machine. Status report, Sora called to her crew. Lieutenant Yunte looked up from his station. The control panel in front of him was covered with buttons and screens that came from 6 different alien species. The humans had learned to use all of them together in ways that none of the original builders had thought possible. The hegemony's 7th fleet is moving toward the Centauri star cluster, Yunte reported. They have 43 heavy warships and over 100 support vessels. They are following their standard attack pattern number 847. Sora smiled in a way that would have frightened the hegemony commanders if they could see it. Of course they are following their standard pattern. We captured their military training manuals 6 months ago. We know all their standard patterns, better than they do. Chief Engineer Bei Inho was working at a station that had once been part of a hegemony battleship. His hands moved quickly over controls that he had learned to operate by taking apart dozens of enemy vessels. Commander, I have prepared the surprise we discussed. Their own mine technology, but we have made it much more powerful. When their fleet arrives, they will walk right into a trap made from their own weapons. Dr. Song Myung was monitoring alien communication frequencies. She had once been a prisoner of the hegemony, captured during one of their raids on her home planet. Now she used her knowledge of their language and customs to help humans stay one step ahead of their enemies. "Commander," Dr. Song said, "I am hearing panic in their communications. Their fleet commanders are arguing with each other. They do not understand how we keep defeating their most experienced military leaders." "That is because they are still trying to fight the old war," So-Ra replied. "They expect us to line up our ships in neat rows and have a fair battle according to their rules. But we are not playing their game anymore." The bridge fell silent as they watched the hegemony fleet approach their carefully prepared ambush. These ships represented centuries of military tradition and thousands of years of technological development. The hegemony had conquered hundreds of worlds with fleets just like this one, but the humans waiting for them were no longer the desperate explorers who had died in the first encounter. They had learned and adapted and grown stronger with every battle. Every defeat had taught them something new. Every victory had given them better weapons and equipment. "Enemy fleet entering the target zone," Yuntai reported calmly. "Activate the trap," So-Ra ordered. What happened next would have been impossible for any other species to accomplish. The humans had studied hegemony mind technology and completely redesigned it. Instead of simple explosives, they had created gravitational distortion devices that could crush even the strongest hegemony armor. The trap activated perfectly. Dozens of hegemony ships found themselves caught in artificial gravity fields that squeezed their hulls like giant invisible hands. Their shields, designed to stop energy weapons, were completely useless against gravitational forces. "Direct hit on their command ship," Bei Inho reported with satisfaction. "Their admiral is trying to send distress signals, but we are jamming their communications using their own communication technology." Meanwhile, on her ancient homeworld, Elder Zix Thera was reading reports that filled her with the same fear her ancestors had felt millions of years ago. She walked slowly through the deepest archives of her people, looking for records that had been deliberately hidden and forgotten. The records she found told a story that few beings in the galaxy remembered. Long ago, there had been another empire that ruled through fear and violence. They had been even more powerful than the current hegemony, with technology that seemed impossible to defeat. But then they had encountered humans. The ancient records described what had happened next in words that still made Zixthera's people feel afraid. The humans had not simply defeated that ancient empire. They had studied it, learned everything about how it worked, and then systematically taken it apart piece by piece. "They do not just hunt their prey," one ancient record said. "They remake the very nature of the hunt itself." Back in space, Commander So-Ra watched as the hegemony fleet realized they were trapped. Some ships tried to run away, others tried to fight back. But the humans had planned for every possible response. "They are trying to use Emergency Protocol 12, Dr. Song reported. "The one where they sacrifice smaller ships to let the larger ones escape." "Let them try," So-Ra said calmly. "We know that protocol too, and we have prepared something special for it." The hegemony had trained their commanders to think in terms of acceptable losses and strategic retreats. They planned battles like complicated games with rules that everyone understood. But humans did not think about acceptable losses. When humans decided something needed to be stopped, they kept working until it was completely stopped. "Commander," Yuntai said quietly, "the enemy admiral is requesting permission to surrender." So-Ra considered this for a moment. A year ago, she might have accepted the surrender and tried to make peace, but she had learned too much about the hegemony since then. She knew about the worlds they had destroyed and the species they had enslaved. "Tell them," she said finally, "that surrender is not enough anymore. Tell them it is too late for surrender." The negotiations took place not in a grand chamber, but in a simple meeting room aboard Neutral Station Concordia. Admiral Krexivor sat across from Ambassador Nam Da-un, daughter of a captain who had died in humanity's first encounter with the hegemony. "Your terms are unprecedented," Krexivor said, studying the human proposal. Da-un leaned forward calmly. "We don't want your territory, Admiral. We don't want your resources or your submission. We want something far more valuable: change. You're demanding the complete restructuring of galactic civilization." "We're offering it," she corrected. "The hegemony's reign through fear and oppression ends today. But we're not here to replace You as overlords, we're here to ensure no one ever holds that position again. Behind her, Captain Jang Ho-seok presented evidence files spanning centuries of hegemony atrocities. Every subjugated species, every destroyed world, every act of genocide, it's all documented. The galaxy deserves better. Krexivor's defeat was complete, but somehow he found himself feeling something unexpected: relief. Why? Why not simply destroy us and take what you want? Daun smiled sadly. Because that's what the hegemony would do. We're not the hegemony. 1 year later, Elder Zixithara walked slowly through the new Galactic Council chambers, where species that had been enemies for millennia now worked together on common goals. She found Ambassador Daun reviewing proposals for interspecies cooperation initiatives. Your people remembered the old warnings, Zixithara observed. Daun looked up with eyes that held both her father's determination and something uniquely human, hope tempered by pragmatism. We never forgot, Elder. We just waited until we were ready to do something about it. The Elder nodded toward the new galactic charter carved into the chamber wall in hundreds of languages, including ancient Vorthak. Never fight a human, because they'll make you remember why you shouldn't have to. Perhaps, Zixithara mused, the old warnings were incomplete. They should have added, but if you must face them, hope they consider you worth saving. As ships from dozens of species worked together in the space around them, building something the galaxy had never seen before, a true alliance based on cooperation rather than conquest, the ancient prophecy had finally found its completion.